Hey guys, for this video, we're just going to do a really quick foilayage on my client. Super easy, just slight dimension. You can follow me on Instagram at Christy@thecottage. Okay, I didn't realize this, but it's been about 8 months since my client has been in. To start her service, we're going to use Schwarzkopf Blonde Meat with 20 volume and Olaplex. So she just likes a little bit of dimension, and obviously she goes kind of a while in between appointments. So I never really like doing anything super tight up close and like directly around her hairline. So we usually just keep it like set back pretty far, like off of her money piece, off of her hairline or anything. So that way she doesn't really ever get the appearance of grow out and never really feels the need of having to come in because her roots are growing out or anything. So we're just going to start a couple of inches off of her hairline and then also blend within probably 1.5 inches of her roots. You can see from the side view that this is a really thin section of hair that I'm taking, and that's going to help get me a little bit better lift. Her hair naturally is pretty coarse and naturally darker, so I usually only lift to about like a level 8, which she never really wants to go like super blonde or anything, but usually when we do her color, like you can see through her ends that she's really warm and like she doesn't have like a lot of like super blonde color or anything like that. So we usually try to lift her, and we usually just get to a level 8 and then tone back down to like a 6, 7 copper or really pretty like warm tone. Last time we did her hair, we were coming into it was before September or so, and so we were thinking it'd be pretty to do like a warm tone for fall. So that was the last thing that we did. That's kind of still hanging on with her ends, which honestly it held on pretty good. So today we're thinking maybe we'll try to go a little bit lighter. Not a whole bunch, but she just feels like let's try something a little bit different. So we're trying to go for more of a softer blonde tone versus like toning back down and doing like a straight like copper or super warm color on her this time. I'm going to take some diagonal pieces off of where her money piece section is, and we're going to paint them not super like directly up into the root, but we are going to paint it a little bit closer up into like towards her forehead, a little bit higher. That way she feels like she can get a little bit more time out of her hair. But because this is falling underneath, the rest of her hair is going to lay on top of it. It's going to still mask it and help it soften the grow out over the next few months. But she will feel like it's a little bit higher and has a little bit more dimension up in the root area. But it's not going to be like super heavy or harsh or anything. Like it's still going to be nice and subtle from all of that dark falling on top of it. I want to say with my thinner sections that you can see I'm taking, that's going to help get better lift, especially when you're working with really dark hair. If you use too thick of a section, then you're not going to get, first of all, you're not going to get like the best saturation, but then also the lift isn't going to be that great. Her hair, I mean, we're never really trying to go super bright or anything like that, but I really have a hard time getting past a level 8. So even with super thin sections, we're usually stuck pretty warm still, which is fine because, you know, we're not trying to be platinum or anything like that. But it's something to say that, you know, when you're working with dark hair especially, make sure that you take thinner sections. And if you want something that's a little bit more bold, then maybe you could do like 2 packets back to back of a weave or something like that. But if you want something that stands out a little bit more and is a little bit more stronger and brighter of a blonde, that doesn't mean like do like just a huge chunk of color and paint it. That just means maybe do like 2 or 3 foils back to back of like a balayage piece for like a brighter piece of blonde or for some higher contrast. And then also when you're doing your bleach, make sure that you are doing it really, really thick. If you don't have good saturation, then the bleach could dry out or you could have like splotchiness or whatever. So make sure that you're applying very, very heavily. Make sure that you're getting the underneath of the hair. I personally, the reason why you see me always when I do like a balayage, foilayage or whatever, you always see me using a foil, and that's because it will insulate it and help it get a little bit better lift. I'm not really like one for doing like an open air balayage. That's just not my like personal technique that I ever really like using. There's, you know, some gals in the area that do amazing like open air balayage and they do beautiful work, but that's just not generally like how I do my color. So I usually like to insulate it and try to get the best lift possible. So I know people ask in the comment section like, how come I never just do open air? And that's one of the reasons why. So we're just going to finish out this application, and as we get a little bit closer up to the top, everything that I'm doing is diagonal underneath her part. So she's not really going to have a super like heavy amount that's going to be right on top of where her hair falls. Everything is going to fall underneath, and that's going to help it be a little bit more softer and more natural looking. And obviously if she goes like 6+ months or whatever, she won't ever feel like she has like any grow out. Everything is going to, again, you can see I'm trying to like lay the hair and see where it's going to fall over those foils and how is it going to lay and what's going to show through or whatever. So I'm doing everything underneath her hair. So even though we are going to leave it maybe like at a level 8 and try to keep her a little bit like brighter, because the hair is falling on top of it, it's still not going to be like a shock to her because we've never done it before. It's not going to be a shock to her for having like all this massive like super bright pieces. Everything is going to fall underneath the dark and still kind of be toned down. Now that we have mostly all of the root area done, we're going to go through the ends of the hair and just paint a few sections right in the very front just to try to brighten it up a little bit more. So we're just going to back comb it, weave it, and paint it up not as high as the rest of the hair, and this will help blend from like darker at the root and then kind of giving some pieciness, and then through the ends the brightness is going to fall a little bit heavier. So we're just going to repeat that on this side, and hopefully we'll be able to lift a little bit past that warmer tone and help blend that out and get this a little bit brighter than what that was. By the way, can I tell you how much I love it when clients are like, whatever, do whatever you want, I trust you. Like, that's always her attitude when she comes in. She's always happy with whatever we do. And I swear that just makes the job so much easier. Like, you just know whatever you do, your client's going to be happy. And that makes me like feel confident in my job because I'm not worried like, oh my gosh, is it going to be like too blonde or is it going to be even bright enough? Like, she's always like, just do whatever you want. And I just want to change something different. And so that's what we're going for today. Just going slightly lighter since we're heading into like, I mean, I'm in Washington and we're in spring, but spring isn't here yet. So I would say that eventually we're going to head into summer, but we haven't even fallen into spring yet. So eventually when spring gets here, she'll be ready for it because her hair will be just like a little bit brighter than what we've done before. So I just really like that about having clients that way that are just like trust you. They don't question you a whole bunch on what you're doing. They just kind of give you some guidelines to stay within, and that just makes the job fun and just like not stressful at all. It's like the perfect color to like end your day on after like having a really massive color that you've done to end it with just like a really nice simple color. So I just appreciate that about her, and then about clients that are that way also. And not to say that clients that come in and are like a huge 7-hour client, not that I don't appreciate those clients. I'm just saying like, those are a little bit more stressful. All right, these very last few foils that we're doing on the top, I'm just taking some really thin little weaves just to give some like small little pieces of dimension on her top layer, and back comb it, weave it. And these are really, really fine little pieces. So even though it's going to be on her top layer, it's not going to be like an overwhelming amount. It's still going to blend really softly with the rest of her hair. All right, so this is the final application. It probably really only took about 30 minutes to put in. And she sat for about 20-30 minutes or so, and this is what she's sitting at. I'm still going to let her sit a little bit longer. We're going to blast her with some heat, let it sit for like 10 more minutes and try to get her just a little bit more of a lift. So we got her a little bit lighter, probably sitting at like an 8.5, 9 in some areas, which honestly, that's kind of like the best lift that we've gotten before. She usually doesn't go beyond like an 8. For her formulation, I am going to try and tone down a lot of that brassiness. So half of my formulation is going to be the 8 PA, and then a quarter of my formulation will be the 9 NB and the 8 N. And so even though she did want to be a little bit brighter, we don't want to be like too overly brassy and warm. So that's going to tone down really nicely and kind of soften it right now. Like you can see some of those little slivery pieces, those softer pieces of dimension. So those are toned down really nicely now. She's really happy with her hair. But in probably like a month or two when the toner starts fading, it's going to brighten up a little bit more. So she'll be like right in the middle of summer with some brighter, kind of warmer pieces of some natural blonde highlights. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.